I'm going to say, naive to believe that the United States can decree that the fighting stop and that somehow Russia or Ukraine or that either side will stop the fighting. And there is not the, the elephant in the room is that there's not the political will among our allies to do what it takes to stop this war.
In Ukraine, the fighting continues also after the summit in Alaska. On Thursday, we saw a very deadly Russian attack, killing, according to Ukrainian authorities, at least 25 people, including 4 children. Why hasn't the United States called for an immediate ceasefire after such an attack, barely 2 weeks after Alaska? And why did, in your opinion, the US president choose to stay silent?
I think the United States has been very clear we want this war to end. We want the fighting to stop. I think it's a very, I'm going to say, naive to believe that the United States can decree that the fighting stop and that somehow Russia or Ukraine or that either side will stop the fighting. And there is not the, the elephant in the room is that there's not the political will among our allies to do what it takes to stop this war.
Which allies?
All allies, all 32 NATO allies. There is a lot more that could be done. There's a lot more that could be done.
Be more specific.
Well, Europe could put troops in. But nobody's willing to do that. And guess what? They always want this is my frustration with where we find ourselves. We are back. The summit was successful. We all patted ourselves on the back. All NATO allies agreed to spend 5% in the next decade, primarily on 3.5% on true defense, military, but the other 1.5% on critical defense-related mobility, infrastructure, cybersecurity, again, the things that will make the alliance strong. But then that's on the one hand, and we all say, well, okay, everybody, Europe's stepping up. And then on the other hand, it's like, well, okay, United States, what are you going to do? The United States makes about 53%, 54% of the NATO alliance. So there's 31 other allies that are essentially equal, that could have an equal voice. And that's where I think if we continue to work together, and these I want to make sure, we condemn these attacks on civilians. These are outrageous. You don't send missiles and drones into cities and kill children and hit hospitals. That is not the modern world that we have all signed up for. But at the same time, that's where we find ourselves. And expecting the United States to solve this alone is just, I just don't think it's not fair. It's not the world we find ourselves in. And again, Europe has agreed to accept more responsibility for Europe. And so Europe should find and continue to work for mechanisms that equally put the leverage on both combatants, but especially Russia, to settle and resolve this war.